So welcome everyone again to The Nature of Mind. So what we're doing in this 6-month project is exploring the nature of mind from a whole range of perspectives. So we've been in conversation with Iain McGilchrist, and it's Iain McGilchrist's work that we're exploring at the moment. This Sunday I'm going off to Swansea to interview Penny Satori, who's one of the first people in the UK, at least, to study people with near-death experiences. Later on, we'll be talking to Paul Gilbert, who's a psychologist and the founder of Compassion Focus Therapy. We're talking to Carol Bowman, who was one of the first people in the US to study children with past life memories. We're talking to Bernardo Kastrup, who is an idealist, a metaphysical idealist, philosopher of mind, a non-materialist philosopher of mind. So the idea is that we explore the mind from all sorts of different perspectives. I've written to someone who's a specialist on octopuses. What is the plural of octopus? Anyway, octopi, octopus. Somebody should know. Anyone who can know, you can put it into the chat, because I need to find out. The whole intelligence of the octopus is remarkable and unusual. They can't understand why they're so intelligent, given that they only live for 2 years. Intelligence in mammals is usually connected with longevity, and they're unusually intelligent. They're as near as you can get on Earth to an alien. They're as different from human beings as it's possible to get. So they're pretty close to being an alien. And they kind of look like it. They probably think the same of us, but there you go. So we're exploring that. But this time particularly, we're exploring Iain McGilchrist's thought. And we'll be doing this every month, exploring one perspective on the nature of mind and then seeing if we can go into it more deeply in seminars and then apply what we've learned in meditation. And what I'm trying to help us apply in meditation today is McGilchrist's belief and in this wonderful book, The Master and His Emissary, that our community, our society is becoming more and more left-brained, that we're becoming more and more like an autistic society in which we preference category, we preference abstraction, we preference the literal over, we preference parts and deconstruction. I was at art school and all we ever talked about is deconstructing our experience. We value irony, conceptualization, abstraction, categorization. They're all very much to do with the left-hand side of the brain. The right-hand side of the brain is to do with context. It's to do with imagination. It's to do with whole experience. It's where we it's how we understand what language means, for instance. Words are on the left, but what they mean contextually, the tonal range of words, which of course is one of the largest parts of words, what they mean in context is to do with the right hemisphere of the brain. And you can see even how we respond to language is becoming more and more left-brained. It's like not being able to get the joke. So what we've been trying to do in meditation is try to do what Iain McGilchrist says in his book, is we need to be delivering the left back to the right. His master and his emissary, that the right-hand side is the master and the left needs to be the emissary. And we're trying to do that by using the body particularly, because we're trying to have a whole experience. We're trying to move from categories and parts, even things like leg, arm, and so on, to whole experiences. We're trying to unify ourselves, body, speech, and mind, as it were, body, heart, and mind, into a new whole where awareness and body and intuition and thought are all running together in a new unity. And it's very striking reading McGilchrist and being in conversation with McGilchrist, because it so chimes with my own Buddhist practice, that the gateway to depth of any experience, whether it's reading a novel, listening to a piece of music, or meditating, is this experience of wholeness, moving away from abstraction and conceptualization and category into an embodied wholeness. Yeah. So we've been exploring that by trying to have an embodied wholeness, trying to discover that. We've also been seeing that in the Buddhist sort of perspective on parts and wholeness, the Buddha would say, yes, that's right. We get stuck at the top of our mind, at the surface of our mind. Yeah, we get stuck on the nivaranas, these 5 so-called hindrances, where our mind gets stuck to. Yeah, and they're factors of disintegration, as Sangharakshita would call them. The nivaranas are disintegrating. They break us up into parts. Yeah. So, we've got aversion and we've got craving, and you can have lust, you can have wanting, hankering, needing, you can have anger, you can have hatred, you can have resentment, you can have spite. You see that the nivaranas, by their nature, split the person up, break you up into little parts, very like what McGilchrist is talking about. They're as Sangharakshita said, they're factors of disintegration. And you know that because when you're in a positive state of mind, it's very difficult to say whether you're feeling content or happy or positive or generous. The more you're in a positive state of mind, I don't just mean an up state of mind, which is a different thing, a cheerful state of mind, but the more you're in a genuinely positive state of mind, your experience coheres, doesn't it, into a new unity. The more integrally happy you feel, the more generous you are, the more grateful you are, the more outward looking and caring you are, genuinely so at least, not in a kind of mock way, the more your experience comes to you as a whole that you can't break down into parts. You can't tell if you're feeling generous or outward looking or and so forth. Positive states of mind cohere into this new unity that we're looking for. Yeah? So we've been trying to work with the nivaranas, and as I said, every time you sit to meditate, unless you're in meditation, unless you're deeply absorbed in direct experience of the body or a glowing sense of well-being and loving kindness, or deep absorption in the breath, if you're not in that place, you'll be in one of the nivaranas. Yeah? And the nivaranas are also to do with a kind of closed-heartedness. Yeah. Even things like slothfulness and tiredness, they're a kind of contraction. Yeah. That's why I've been talking in terms of stretching out the awareness. Really, the nivaranas, the hindrances, are to do with a kind of closed-heartedness or a hard-heartedness. What we need in meditation, more and more, is more heart, yeah, more heartfulness, more openness. So I've been emphasizing in this week of meditation wholeness of body experience and cultivating a sense of heartfulness, of well-being, of contentment, of ease, and so on. You're looking for this rich wholeness. It's not, you're trying to get out of that tendency to break things down into parts, and you're trying to move away from a habitual, automatic sort of hard-heartedness caused by all sorts of factors, that we get kind of habituated to a kind of sort of hard-heartedness. So that's what we've been exploring so far, and we've been exploring that in various ways. So what I want to come on to today, yesterday I was talking about looking for, a kind of micro habit of micro aversion. Like every time you get distracted, to use that word, do you sort of, I don't know what happens in your mind? Do you kind of slightly tell yourself off about it? Do you sort of Do you roll your eyes at yourself, as it were? What happens in that moment when you get distracted? Is there just a little ice cube of micro aversion when you notice that? Oh, this isn't going very well. This meditation is not going as well as yesterday. I wish I could meditate like such and such a person. I'll never get anywhere in this. We can often have this habitual habit of micro aversion where we feel slightly frustrated, disappointed with ourselves. Yeah. And we need to separate that from a genuine wanting for more than ourselves. We need to be looking for more than from ourselves, but not in this kind of, telling off kind of way, not in this subtle but sometimes insidious kind of self-criticism. Now, it's tricky to get this right because, as I said yesterday, self-criticism is important. It's not the same as self-condemnation, as self-thwarting, which is quite different. So you're wanting more from yourself, but how can we find a way of wanting more from ourselves that is saying yes to ourselves and let's do what we can do a bit more, not saying no to ourselves? Yeah. These things are sort of easy enough to say. It's a question of catching yourself doing it, because these habits of our mind, because they're habitual, you just don't notice that you're doing it. Yeah, they're habitualized, so you don't. It's quite difficult to catch what you're doing. When I used to meditate, I used to sit down to meditate, and my basic view was, in my life, I try my best, but nothing really comes of it. That was, I come from the West Midlands, and that is the sort of worldview I grew up in, really. That you work hard, but nothing much will happen. And that you can't expect to enjoy yourself, really, because life is hard. That was the sort of worldview that I came from. For me, and if you have that view that when you sit down to meditate, nothing much will happen, that's what will happen. Nothing much will happen. Your view of your experience shapes your experience. It's one of the things that Buddhism is particularly concerned to teach you. That if any way you look at experience will edit experience for you. So if you think that nobody likes you, that's what you'll experience. If you think people are out to get you, that's what you experience. If you think that there are power-hungry people trying to change your life pattern, that's what you'll experience. Your experience conforms to your view. It's a confirmation bias that psychologists talk about. So what we need to do is find a way of wanting more from ourselves without doing that in this kind of self-thwarting, condemning kind of micro habit of micro aversion. Yeah. So I want to go a little bit further on from that today, and then tomorrow I want to step right the way back and talk about the goal of meditation, where we're going, because we're not just working with our mind as it is now. We're trying to move to a wholly new kind of mind, which is unimaginably vaster than the mind we experience now. At least that would be a Buddhist reason to meditate, is to explore and experience the nature of reality, not just feel a bit better, valuable though that is. So we'll do that tomorrow. But what I want to talk about now is something, again, that's a little bit like this sort of micro habit of micro aversion. It's, in a way, it might be I was thinking it might be, I was talking about one of the nivaranas is anxiety and restlessness. So it's a bit like a sort of anxious state, which is that we can often think in meditation in terms of duration. Yeah. We often think, oh no, I've been distracted. How long was I away from? Yeah. How long? Oh no, I've been thinking about this. How long have I been away from? Or you can think, okay, I'm watching the breath. How I need to be able to do that for longer. Yeah, we can think in meditation in terms of how long have I been meditating, either literally I still have this habit of when I meditate, I want to know immediately how long I've been meditating for, as if that, nobody can criticize me because I've sat there on a cushion for this amount of time. So I can hold that up. Yeah. So sometimes we literally think in terms of how long we've been meditating, and there's some value in that. And often enough in meditation, we think, how long have we been on the breath, or how long have we managed to stay with the whole body experience? I don't know whether you found this, but I think this is really onto something, that we easily think in terms of how long, what duration have I done? I need to stay on the breath or on the whole body experience for longer, and I need not to be distracted for so long, So what I'm wanting to suggest today is that we change the metaphor from how long am I meditating. As soon as you notice you're distracted, instead of thinking, oh, I need to stay with the meditation for longer, or I need to not be distracted so much, see if you can change that to, let's just focus on the quality of attention. So instead of quantity of attention, instead of thinking I need to stay longer, instead of a quantity of awareness, a quantity of being with your experience, see if you can change to a quality of attention. So all that you need to do when you're distracted is, you don't need to wonder about the quantity of time that you were distracted for, or the quantity of staying with the meditation. You just keep coming back to, can I have a richer quality of awareness just now? Never mind how long I can keep that going for. Never mind how long I got distracted for. I'm looking for a quality of awareness, And that quality is a quality of wholeness. It's a quality of curiosity. I really liked what I was saying yesterday. It's a patient, or what Iain McGilchrist said. He talked about a patient, respectful nurturing. That's what you're looking for. This quality of attention that's patient, that's respectful of difficulties in your experience, that's open-hearted, that's interested in opening your heart at least. So see if you can move from a quantity, how long am I on the breath for, or feeling the body for, keep coming back to, right now, let's see if I can cultivate more of a quality of attention. It's an aesthetic thing, isn't it, quality? So you're looking to enjoy your experience. You're looking to cherish your experience. You're looking to nurture your experience. Can you have a bit more quality in your experience just now? So what we're trying to build up is moments of quality of attention. So let's see if we can do that today. And what I'll do as usual is I'll read a poem at the start and the end. It's another poem this today by Richard Wilbur. I wanted to show you the form of it. So that's the form of it. That's the form of it. It's a miracle that each of those little verses, there we go. This is a little poetry seminar at 7:20 in the morning. Each of those little verses, they're each a haiku in their own right. So each verse has got 7 syllables, then 5 syllables, then 7 syllables, and they rhyme. I don't know how that's humanly possible. I can't tell you how difficult that would be to pull off. Anyway, there you go. Your little. So what you'll be hearing is a sequence of haikus, although it actually just sounds like somebody just chatting. Okay. We've done a poetry seminar as well as a meditation seminar, so let's now get everything you need to settle into meditation. So make sure you're sitting upright. So if you can sit on the floor, do. But we're going to be meditating for a little bit longer today. So make sure you've got everything you need. Make sure you're warm enough. And you're just going into the meditation today with this sense of what we're doing, what we're going to be doing is cultivating quality of attention. You can do that. You can do that. I can do that. You can do that this morning. So setting yourself up so you can sit completely still. And if you're new to meditation, probably the best thing is to sit on something like a kitchen chair, something like that, so that you are really comfortable. And you might want to, if you're meditating in front of a computer, you might want to dim the screen or turn on flux. Some of you are probably meditating on phones and things like that, so that you might not need to do that. Good. Okay, so when you're ready, closing your eyes. As soon as you've closed your eyes, see if you can come back to the whole sense of the body, the weight of the body on the cushions. And our poor old body can feel comfortable or uncomfortable, heavy or light, a bit buzzy or a bit sort of stuck. And we're training ourselves to be open to that, whatever it is. The body is just like the weather. It's no good complaining about the weather. You just have to open up to it. Feeling the warmth of the body, the weight of the body. So really feeling the support of the cushions or the chair, the support of the floor under your feet and your knees if you're sitting on the floor. And then once again, softening your face. Softening your eyes and your brow and your jaw. Really see if you can soften all the muscles around your eyes. We're spending so long looking at screens now. It's really lovely just to close your eyes and soften your eyes. And bringing your attention into your shoulders. And just imagining your shoulders releasing, relaxing. You're just imagining that in a kind of light way. You're not kind of pondering over it. You can actually feel the sensations of the shoulders. You're not picturing the shoulders or thinking about them, or abstracting them somehow. And again, your belly. See if you can notice if you're gripping in your belly, habitually holding on to your belly. And see if you can let that go. One of the ways of doing that is really feeling the weight of your body on the chair or the cushions, giving your weight to the chair or the cushion. So your whole body is calming down, quietening down. Your eyes are soft, your brow is soft. The shoulders are dropping down your back. Your belly is soft. measuring worm. This yellow striped green caterpillar climbing up the steep window screen, constantly, for lack of a full set of legs, keeps humping up his back. It's as if he's sent by a sort of semaphore dark amigas meant to warn of large things. Although he doesn't know it, he will soon have wings. And I too don't know toward what undreamt condition, inch by inch, I go. So in this meditation, we're really working on a quality of attention, a heartful, interested, curious, warm quality of attention. Today we're going to move between the breath, feeling the breath in the body and the whole body. So first of all, see if you can tune in to your breath. The breath is massaging your body from the inside. See if you can bring a rich quality of attention to the sensations of the breath. And when you get distracted, if you get distracted, just come back to a quality of attention, a heartful quality of attention. If your experience is uncomfortable, you can imagine that the breath has a soothing and smoothing out effect on your mind and on your body. When your mind goes off, come back to a quality of attention on your breath. You don't need to worry too much about how long you're staying with it. Just nurturing a quality, a heartful quality of attention. And then broaden out your awareness to rest in the whole body. Keep stretching out your awareness to fill the whole body. And keep coming back to this quality of attention. Keep stretching out your awareness. Fill your whole body. Taking pleasure in your experience. Valuing it. And then again, focusing more on the breath, but still really just appreciating your experience. Think if you can warm up your attitude to your experience, a kind of respectful cherishing. Keep coming back to this quality of attention that's warm, that's appreciative, that's empathic, that's more and more resting on the breath. Tuning into the soothing, smoothing, calming effect of the breath. Keep coming back to a quality of awareness. Even if that just means imagining a quality of awareness, imagining an appreciative awareness. That'll have an effect as well. And again, opening your awareness to include your whole body. Opening up to your body sensations. including in your awareness the sounds around you. So there's the body and there's sound. The measuring worm. This yellow striped green caterpillar climbing up the steep window screen, constantly, for lack of a full set of legs, keeps humping up his back. It's as if he's sent by a sort of semaphore, dark amigas, meant to warn of lost things. Although he doesn't know it, he will soon have wings. And I too don't know toward what undreamt condition, inch by inch, I go. Okay, good. So when you're ready, coming out of meditation. Yes, so once again, there's time for any questions that you might have. I'll get Nick to read out sort of compilations of questions if need be. Are you there, Nick?
Yes, so Zoe is asking, or saying, I find it easier to imagine some things than others. For example, whole body breathing, body listening. But when Maitreyabandhu says to try imagining how we want to feel, for example, contented, it seems to have more of a mental element to it and therefore give rise to thoughts much more. Any tips for this?
Yes, that's very interesting. Yeah, I suppose I'm not sure that I know actually, but our imagination works. Our imagination works in kind of mysterious ways, except for it sounds like God, doesn't it? But my sense is that the imagination comes in from a little bit to the side. It's one of the qualities of imagination. It's not something you can will quite, is it? It sort of comes in at the side a bit. I am afraid I write poetry. Oh, that's a nice dog. And poems always occur to me just at the moment where I haven't got time to do them, or I haven't got time to write them down, or I should be doing something else. You don't sit down and think I'm going to write a poem about being content. Well, if you do, it's almost inevitably an awful poem. Imagination comes in, as it were, from the side. It comes in because it's whole, and because it's not willed so much. It tends to come in from the side. So one of the things you're always doing in meditation is sort of playing a bit with your imagination to find out where it sparks off, where it lights up. Like, in the meditation just now, I was working as I was teaching, and then suddenly I had this little memory of having a joke with Iain McGilchrist, my friend who's here on the retreat with me. And as soon as I was just sort of remembering that joke, and how you laugh between friends, that's actually what then feeling that sort of laughter between us and fun, that's what opened up my experience. Not the diligent, not so much the diligent opening up to the whole body. So then that sort of crept in, and you need to keep an eye out for that. And the trouble is, of course, if I then, that might work if I bring that to mind tomorrow, then often enough it won't work. Imagination has its own kind of dynamic, which sort of isn't your business. You can see why you have this idea of the muse, that it's not to do with you entirely. Yeah, so you're trying to be aware of any moments where there's an opening up, a warming up, a heartening to your experience, a unification of your experience. And yes, if imagining being content doesn't work for you in that way, then at least not work for you this time, because next time it might, weirdly. Then see what is working for you. You're sort of a bit on the lookout for that. So you're sort of looking for where you have this intrinsic sort of sense of, you basically are looking for sort of embodied pleasure, unity and so on. And you're trying to sort of find that a bit. So you'll need to explore that in your own meditation. Part of meditation is this curious, exploratory attitude where, as long as you know what you're trying to do, you're trying to have this whole experience that's unified with the body, the mind, and the heart on one end, and it tends towards well-being on the other, depending on how you look at it. Yeah. And then you're trying to settle into that experience more and more, so it permeates your whole experience. So when I had that little memory of having a laugh with Iain McGilchrist, I just felt that sort of, that humor and pleasure with being with a friend. And I just felt that in my body and just enjoyed that pleasant sensation here and now. It's not a memory anymore. It's not happening in the past and I'm thinking about it. It's sort of here and now. And I just let that be in my body and I dressed into that. Yeah. So you can do it like that. So something comes to mind or a thought or a so-called distraction. sometimes if you catch them, you can just drop beneath the literal thought of it into the feeling in the body. Or you can cultivate that. You can try to remember a time when you felt happy and connected and more complete and whole. You might not use those particular words for it. Might just be that time with your friend or whatever. I don't know whether that answers your question, but yeah, I do think imagination is something that you never get the hang of. You can't just think, okay, I'm going to do that imagination thing again and make that happen. It never works like that. The muse is like, I'm not interested in you anymore. You have to do your bit, opening to the whole body, bringing things to mind that you feel might open up your experience, feeling the breath in the body, keeping your imagination embodied and integral, not split off and alienated or fantastical. And then the muse might step in. So find out what works for you, really.
Soph is asking, she's saying, I notice I experience jolts of the body when I feel like I'm going deeper into my experience. Have you had any experience of this? And if so, how can I work with this? It makes me feel like I'm starting again.
Yes, that's interesting. I did have a whole time in my meditation life when I experienced that a lot. It was actually quite fashionable for a while. Everybody used to do that, like that in meditation. There was a bit of a fashion. I'm not always sure what to think of it. Sometimes I get it still, sometimes it can be a release of energy. That's what meditation is about, is releasing energy, unifying the mind so that the mind isn't broken up and polarized against itself. So much of our energy is wasted by trivial thought and self-polarization and so on, and negativity. Actually, we waste a lot of our energy on sort of simple negativities. And so sometimes you can experience that access of energy as a kind of jolt in the body, and that might be fine. The sort of caveat I'd put to that is I noticed that I also had a view that that's what it was, which would actually create it. I don't know whether other people have experienced it. I started to rather like the fact that I was having these jolts, because I took them as a sign I was going deeper. So I started to have more of them. And I had a friend at the time who very much believed that these jolts of energy were, a releasing of tension and so on. And he it was like meditating next to a kangaroo. He'd be like this all the time. And I remember one day just thinking, I think I'm slightly making this happen. And I just thought, I'll stop doing that now. And I've hardly ever done it since. So difficult to one of the mysteries of mind is is something integral, or is it sort of based in a view? Like if you start to think, well, that's good, you'll start to have it more. It's a bit like, in some teachers of meditation have been teaching this sort of a dark night of the soul, that, there's a certain point where you have very difficult experience in meditation and that's needed and necessary. And I'm very uneasy about that. I think there's something in it. But if you start having that view, you will start having dark night of the soul experiences. You can be hypnotized, as it were, by the sort of painful and negative. You can, especially if you start to think that's deep. Now it can be, but it isn't necessarily deep, and you can get sort of strangely attached to dark, difficult experience. They can be something that you rather kind of nurture. And I know that because I've done that myself. So with all these things, it's very, very subtle. If there is difficulty, you're wanting to open to it. You're not wanting to pretend it's not there. But you're not trying to dignify it either, that those difficulties are a sign of depth. If you're having body releases and it is sort of having this sort of jolting effect, and if that is energy, that's great. You're not then trying to think, well, that's a sign of that you're going deeper necessarily, and therefore sort of pre-consciously setting yourself up to have it. Yeah? When you enter dhyana, which is a very, very, very deep sense of meditation, it's characterized by pleasure, by absorption, by this very, very beautiful stillness. And when you experience dhyana, even the edge of dhyana, I don't know, it's like drinking warm milk. It's just like the best thing ever. In comparison with which, the dark night of the soul or jolting, electric currents of energy are like nothing. You just don't want to bother with that stuff. It's like your whole system is being renewed in dhyana. You end up with this very beautiful mind. When I teach meditation, I can almost always tell if someone's in dhyana. They look very, very beautiful. Not in the way that, models look beautiful necessarily, actually more beautiful than that. They sort of have this aura of a particular kind of stillness and beauty that's really very, very noticeable, even, from outside. And I can nowadays I can tell the difference between that and someone who just merely has good posture. Sometimes yogis sit very, very beautifully because they, worked on a very, very good posture. They sit very beautifully, but they're actually completely distracted. They just look gorgeous. So I don't mean it in that way. I mean something much, much deeper, and you can feel it almost in the atmosphere. Yeah. So yes, you can have all kinds of things jolting. And the other thing that you might experience is things like tingling, rushing sensations. I remember feeling my hands getting very big. They can all be signs of your mind deepening, but you don't want to start setting yourself up for them, because they'll start to happen. You're always trying to want to go deeper, which is stiller, more unified, more pleasurable. Yeah. Yes, you could cultivate the bright night of the soul, yeah. Or the starry night of the soul. Yeah. Anyway, that's one little thought on that sort of experience.
So Tracy asks, could you say something about preparation for meditation, please? I took an urgent call just before the session and it's given me a very distracted experience with lots of microaversions.
Yeah, so preparation is so important. That's a very good question, Tracy, because I've not talked about preparation. And yes, I wouldn't recommend an urgent call just before meditation. Just to talk about phones for a minute, I have taken a phone call in the middle of a meditation. It's a very interesting experience, because you can be sitting in meditation thinking, I'm not going anywhere with this. I'm just really distracted. This is basically just me. I just happen to be sitting here with my eyes closed. Then you answer the phone and you find, oh my gosh, I'm completely much deeper than I realize. It's very good. I don't recommend it, but it does show you that you can be going much deeper than you think you are, and it's worth remembering that. Anyway, that's a bit of a digression. But so yes, preparation is very important. And in a way, preparation is a specialization of your life is very important. The Buddhist vision of meditation is that you're trying to set up your life to serve your meditation, not just sort of push in a bit of relaxation and well-being into the middle of a chaotic, angry, indignant, badly organized life. You're trying to create a life that supports meditation. So you need, for instance, you need periods of simplicity, you need friendship, you need as much experience of the natural world as you can. A pleasurable connection with the natural world is very important as a basis for meditation. Experiences of beauty, a part of a sort of the environment that you need for meditation. It's really lovely. I've seen quite a few people with their shrines in their room. I think even your room needs to be a place that, it's interesting on Zoom, you get little glimpses of people's rooms. They need to be a place that support your meditation, that sort of, a bit beautiful as much as one could afford, as it were, not, but somewhere that feels good and aesthetically pleasing and where you feel this is a place I can stay and be at home and deepen. You need a place, don't you? Human beings are sort of nest builders. For me, it's really important that I've got my particular chair that I sit and read in and a lamp that I read in. It's my place where I have that reading thing, on my shrine next to me. But yeah, so what I do to prepare for meditation nowadays, one of the worst things I think is getting up in a hurry and rushing to meditation. That's one of the worst ways of preparing for meditation, where you haven't had a cup of tea, you've hardly managed to get to the loo, you're already in a hurry, and then that will set you off into an aversive state of mind. That's, for me, one of the worst ways. I've never taken a call just before it, but I'm sure that can be bad as well. But so rushing into the meditation, not giving yourself enough time, stresses you, and then you bring that into the meditation. And a lot of the meditation is then calming down from that. So, what I do is I wake up in half an hour before the meditation with, I have to have a cup of tea, otherwise I don't know how life is livable. And I just sit for half an hour in my reading chair in my community and read poems. It's a really good time to read poems. And poems, I hope, are opening up my imagination a bit, sort of emotionalizing myself a bit. And then I go down to meditation then. If you can, it's good to, before you meditate, just in that half hour before, just think, what am I going to do in meditation today? That's what I sometimes do as well. And I just sort of think, what I did yesterday is I particularly focused on this. Today, I think I'm going to actually let's try this today. So, I'm giving you all these handy tips, which if you're not careful, are just an endless stream of handy tips. You need to then sort of think, okay, I'll remember that and I'll try that. On Monday, I'll do that one where he said to do that, and then on Tuesday. So that's a good thing to do to prepare. Just start to set your mind for what you're going to do. Even just the fact that you've got up early and you think, I'm going to be meditating in half an hour, 20 minutes. That starts to turn your mind towards doing that. Yeah, I think that is actually quite important. So it's like you're starting to plant seeds that I'm going to do this valuable thing, because really meditation only works if you value it, and if you value something, you give it time. You remember, I'm going to do that thing. I mostly do my own sadhana, which was given to me at ordination. So when we're ordained into the Triratna Buddhist Order, you're given a Buddha figure to meditate on. And I take this approach and that approach, and I'm taking approaches into my meditation that I've been teaching. So I might think, I'll do that today and this today. Yeah? But I think you need about half hour, 20 minutes to prepare. And, if you like reading poems, it's a good time to read poems. That's about as much poetry as you're ever going to be able to want to read, I can tell you, unless you're like me. Or you just sit in a chair with a cup of tea and, tune into yourself a bit, not in a very heady way or a kind of overdone way. You just sort of have a bit of a tune into yourself. What I find, I don't know about you, but it's very easy to wake up into a habitual, slightly negative mental state. If you're not careful when you wake up, because you're tired and so on, you can feel a bit grumpy, and then that reminds you of this thing that's on your nerves and that thing that's going wrong. Or you might wake up into an anxious state. I need to do all this stuff today. So you're trying to give a buffer so that you either give yourself something better to do, like read a poem, or I wouldn't particularly suggest, for instance, reading prose, because then you don't want to get into a prose sort of state. You're trying to get into a sort of more whole state, and poetry at best can do that, or at least help with that. Or you just sit there with a cup of tea and look out the window, just watch the sun start to rise, or listen to the bird song, and just have a bit of thing. I'm going to be meditating in a bit, and I want to take this particular approach. I wouldn't overdo preparation. You're not preparing to run a marathon or something. Which I presume means you just mainly flex your body a bit. I don't know. I've never prepared to run anything. Anyway, but yeah, preparation is very important. I think it needs about half an hour, 20 minutes. Yeah, you can. Of course, the other thing, definitely not to do, is scroll through your phone. More and more of us are waking up and immediately scrolling through our phones. That's a really bad preparation, because it pushes you into the left-hand side of the brain. It pushes you into that doing mode, and massively bad for you. So that's definitely not to do. So don't pick up your phone until after the meditation, which, sounds easy, but more and more of us are just getting into the habit of, looking at the phone. It's easier than reading something now. I'll do on that. Any other questions?
On that topic, Vidya Kaya is saying, can you say something about boredom and patience and the left brain?
Oh, good heavens. Boredom, patience, and the left brain. I'll perhaps try and say something about patience. I mean, Bhante Sangharajari, he said, often we think we're being patient when we're really just being persistent, which I thought was very striking. You think you're being patient with someone, whereas really you're just being persistent. You just keep persisting with what you're trying to say. Patience, the Buddhist word for patience is kshanti. And again, it's a very beautiful word. It's got very strong kind of overtones of love. So patience isn't merely a kind of enduring. It's a kind of love, patience, really. When you're genuinely patient with someone, it's really another way of saying that you're empathic with them, that there's a love for them, and that is appearing as a kind of patience with them. Patience is very, very sweet, and it's actually very rare, I think. So one of the things that we're cultivating in meditation is this a patience with difficulty, a patience with our mad mind, our nutty mind that's just really, you're glad that it isn't a YouTube channel that anyone can see, because, it's really not, most of it's not viewable, sort of patience, I think, has got a certain sort of humor with it, and not taking yourself too seriously in the wrong kind of way. It's not taking, I think patience it also means not taking the hindrances, the nivaranas too personally. So say you're in a bad mood, or you're really anxious, or you're feeling very doubtful. Well, you don't need to take that too personally. You can be sort of patient about that. That's just the winds of the hindrances blowing through you. Everybody has that stuff. Or you're having lustful thoughts, or it doesn't matter. Don't take it all too seriously. One of the things that gets us snarled up with the nivaranas, with the hindrances, is taking them personally, thinking that they say something important about who I am and what my meditation is. So if you think, I can't meditate, I'm not this sort of person, I'm in such a bad mood today, today's going to be rubbish because I've got up late and I'm already in a jangled state. You don't need to believe those thoughts. They can appear to you very believable, but you don't want to believe them too much. So easy to get into, oh no, I've really got out of the wrong side of the bed today. I shouldn't have taken that call, and now I'm really jangled. We can just say, okay, never mind, did I? You need to be like a dog. Dogs can get upset by things, and then once the upset is gone, they just put their muzzle on their paws and just sort of smell a bit. They don't carry it with them. We carry our lives with us. So see if you can be patient with the nivaranas. You don't need to take your thoughts as seriously as you think you do. I say you, I mean me. So I think that word kshanti, that Buddhist word kshanti, goes so often. The traditional Buddhist words are a bit better because they've got more. When you look at what they mean, they've got this love sense. That word kshanti. It's not merely a grim endurance and making the best of. It's actually something much more cherishing than that. And if you get bored, then start to take that kind of softening, interested attitude to that. Why am I bored? How am I feeling bored? as I said the other day, how about I try and feel more bored? And then, of course, your mind starts to get a bit interested in that, and then you're not bored anymore. Boredom's a good thing, basically. We need to get much better at it. I think that might be all the time we've got. So, yeah, thanks very much. And really good to see everybody again. Really good to see you all tuning in. So tomorrow we'll have one last exploration in meditation. But for now, let's unmute and we can say bye-bye across the world. See you soon. Hope you have a good rest of the day. Whether a day if you're in the UK or Europe, or an evening if you're on the other side of the world. So see you later. Bye-bye. You can unmute if you want to. You can say bye-bye. Oh, I think Nick has run off. So because he's got so
there we go.
Oh, you can undo. Oh, there you go.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Bye bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank
See
you.
you later. Have a good day.
Thank you.
See you later. See you
Oh,
later.
really?
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you. That was really great.